What I'm going to attempt to do in under 5 minutes here is take a look at the structure of the story of an hour, and by doing that, try to come to a conclusion and be able to make a claim. So if we take four segments, the first being the receiving of the news, as well as some other general exposition. For instance, Mrs. Mallard has a heart condition. The second segment would be her repressing how she's really feeling, and then on the outside, showing her sister and the others the grief. And we also know that that grief is partially true, because as we move into the third segment, which is her release, it's the true feeling of joy, it's admitted there that she did indeed love her husband. But it is in this third segment, looking out an open window, looking west, that something comes to her and she contemplates her life going forward free, without this husband, without having to bow before a partner, and not having to answer to anybody. And then, of course, the fourth segment, the last segment, is the revelation of truth, and that is that her husband is still alive. And the consequence then is her falling down and dying. And let's start there. Okay, so let's go backwards. So if we take a look at that last part, we see that a mistake is being made by these male doctors. They don't understand this woman. They don't understand that actually seeing her husband alive is horrifying to her, especially after the third segment, where she has already started to, in a bit of fantasy, looking out a window, she's already begun to live in a different era, a free era of herself. So now that thought of going back is absolutely horrifying, and causes the heart attack and kills her. What about the other two sections? Okay, let's go back to the opening section. The only way that the doctors can make the mistake in the end and say that she died of the heart attack is because of the revealing in the first section, that exposition, that she even had a heart condition. But there's something else that's really important in the first section that is also connected to the last section, and that is the mistake. The information is not correct. She is she's being told that her husband's dead when he's not dead. Of course, we don't know that till the end of the story, but nonetheless, there it is. He was not dead. A mistake is made. So mistakes are made in both the beginning and the end of the story. All right. But that second part is the interesting one. It seems to be the shackle upon our dear Miss Mallard. It is the norms of society. It is where she is showing, according to the norms, her grief, and that's what this is about. The norms for a wife during that time would mean that she would have to answer to her husband, kowtow to him, follow his wishes, and not be able to have a freedom of her own. And so I am making a claim that the author has shown us each of those four segments, okay, the exposition of news arriving, but mistaken news, and then, of course, showing us a character following norms and thus repressing how she really feels, which is really the key to the whole story. We basically are given the idea then that she's always had to repress things. And in the third one, when she no longer has to repress and she's able to release her inner joy as she looks towards her future, we can understand why this is an awful situation for women in general, to have to answer to men instead of being able to live independently. That is the power of the story. It has this sympathetic effect upon the reader, perhaps moving them to have empathy for another person who has to live by norms that are somewhat binding. And it makes a much more dramatic and horrifying view of that upon her death at the very end. Thank you for watching.